Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. So this year's NFL draft class has a really deep tight end class, and in my opinion, the most interesting prospect out of this group is Zack Kuntz, the prospect out of Old Dominion. Let me tell you guys what makes Zack such an interesting prospect. Every year, it seems as though there is a prospect, I think of guys like Cole Strange, for example, that come out of an extremely small school, but have this insane athletic profile that really rises them up the draft boards. And this year, it is Zack Kuntz out of Old Dominion. You look at a guy out of Old Dominion and go, why is this guy even getting talked about? I think that is a little bit unfair, and let's get into some of his backstory. This guy was a heavily recruited guy out of high school. He was actually a receiver coming out of high school, and he committed to Penn State. Once he got to Penn State, they said, you know what, Zack Kuntz, we love your skill set, but we want you to play tight end. You are 6'7". Once you hit the NFL level, you might be a little bit too slow-footed to play the receiver position, so let's get you going at tight end. So his first couple years at Penn State for Zack Kuntz was utilized to really get his play strength up and to hit the weight room. Every single year, he incrementally gained weight and gained muscle by about 5 pounds a year. Zack got to a point where he said, man, I don't know if I will ever end up getting playing time at Penn State. They have Pat Freiermuth at the moment, and they have a couple tight ends in the wings that look really good in prime to get a lot of playing time. Not to say I'm not good, but I'm 23 years old at this point. Let me go to a situation where I'm going to get significant playing time. So at the beginning of the 2021 season, he ended up playing for Old Dominion, and he had a really good year at Old Dominion. By the time the 4th, 5th game hit, Old Dominion went from using him in a gadget tight end role to the main target of this offense. He went from getting 1 to 2 targets a game to 7, 8 targets a game. He ended up finishing the 2021 season with 692 yards and 5 touchdowns. So going into 2022, he was expected to have a monster breakout year. He ended up getting injured in the 5th game of the season last year and missed the entire year. So in and of itself, Zack Kuntz is a guy who's 24 years old and he's only had 15 games of college experience. That's not a lot, but getting into some of his physical talents and what has made people go back to watch his film, and we will get into whether his film backs up this physical profile or not. So he is 6'7", 255 pounds, a 10.25-inch hands, 34-inch arms. He put up 23 reps on the bench, a 40-inch vertical, 128-inch broad jump, 6.873 cone drill, 4.12 shuttle, a 4.55 40-yard dash. Every single testing number and statistic I just named not only is in the 90th percentile of NFL prospects at the tight end position in the last 2 decades, but for this year, he was top 2 for tight ends in every single statistical category. So if all those numbers I just said don't mean anything to you, just know that this guy is a created player out of Madden. This guy should not exist. This size profile and strength profile matched up with his speed profile would suggest to you that his agility is an absolute 0. His agility sucks. This is not the case with Zack Kuntz. His shuttle and agility 3-cone drills were absolutely incredible. And when you dial up the tape, his foot speed and footwork is actually really solid. It looks like a guy who actually has played receiver for the majority of his life, which is the case with Zack Kuntz. So let's dive into the tape a little bit, and let me tell you guys what I took away from his tape. Route running. His route running is pretty solid. He's a guy who's not going to have a very limited route tree. He's a guy who really, from the slot, from a 12 personnel package as well, lined up on the line of scrimmage, he's a guy who really could run any route in the route tree you would want a tight end running. Now, with his route running, I notice he kind of hits his top speed, then he has to slightly slow down to cut in his routes. He does have nice, sharp cuts, but the thing is, I think he does need a little bit more subtlety in his route running with better pacing. But besides that, that's just me kind of being nitpicky, and that's something that will get coached in him at the next level pretty quickly into his NFL career. By the time week 1 hits, I'm sure that is something that will be cleaned up. He has a really nice release off the line of scrimmage. He accelerates extremely well for a tight end, and the run after the catch is solid. It's nothing too special at the moment, but it's pretty good. I'd say it's above average for a tight end prospect. His hands are good enough, but they're nothing insane. His catch in traffic and contested catching is very good, but to me, it's kind of good compared to the talent that Old Dominion is facing at the moment. So in my opinion, again, once he gets with an NFL coach, they'll teach him how to frame off the cornerback or the linebacker to a better point, and they'll teach him to, again, kind of box out the defender and use his body and high point balls better. That's something that, again, he was solid at, but something that is going to need to improve at the next level, in my opinion. Something absolutely elite about his game on tape is really that catch radius. He's a guy, Zack Kuntz, he's going to be picked in late day 2, early day 3. So I'm thinking a late 3rd round pick, early 4th round pick for Zack Kuntz. Maybe he even goes earlier than that if a team absolutely falls in love with him and are nervous that he's going to be selected earlier in the draft. To me, he's a perfect, phenomenal pairing with a young rookie quarterback. If I'm a team like the Texans, if I'm a team like the Panthers, I'm getting Zack Kuntz in the building just because Zack Kuntz's catch radius leaves for such a significant margin for error with a quarterback who maybe has solid accuracy, but not solid ball placement. So Zack Kuntz is a guy who can come in right away with this elite catch radius. If you throw to him, worst comes to worst, it's an accurate pass and he bats the ball down, or he kind of acts like a defender on the play. When you're throwing to Zack Kuntz, you're not really going to get the ball intercepted. So that's something I really like about him. All in all, I really like Zack Kuntz as a prospect. To me, on tape, does he have this insane vertical with this insane shuttle time, with this insane 40-yard dash time? No, but it is very good on tape. Does he look like the best athlete in the history of tight ends on tape at Old Dominion? Again, no, he doesn't, but he seems as though he's a good athlete nonetheless. I get his story. I understand why he only played 15 games, so I'm pretty high on Zack Kuntz. Do I think he's going to be Travis Kelce 2.0? That's way too big of an expectation to put on a guy, but to me, he is worth the late round pick. He's worth the swing, and if you miss, well, on to the next physical freak.